Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum. Welcome to 1 Kings chapter 13. There are 34 verses in this chapter. Okay, beginning at verse 1, we have at the altar versus by the altar. So he stood there at the altar versus he stood near the altar. And verse 3, in that day, one shall give a sign. So this is a continuation of the man of God statement that one day someone other than him will provide a sign. Versus, and he gave a sign the same day. So the narrative is stating the man of God gave a sign. So that's the narrative versus his verbal statement. Then we see fatness versus ashes. Verse 4, the king versus he. Withered versus dried up. Verse 5, a continuous difference of fatness versus ashes. Verse 7, dine versus refresh yourself. Gift versus reward. 8, verse 8, should versus will. If you should give me the half of thine house versus if you will give me. Verse 11, we have an omission of and. Okay, why is that significant? Why is this significant? The words and the words. Rather than the works and words being the same thing. So he told him all the words, or I should say all the works that the man of God did. Okay, so let's just rewind. There dwelt an old prophet in Bethel, and his sons came and told him all the works and the words. Okay, so that's what happened. The sons came and told the man of God, or told him, the old prophet, all the works that the other man of God did, as well as his words. Rather than how it's expressed in the Masoretic, it says here that his sons came and told him all the works that the man of Elohim had done, the words which he had spoken. So it's equating the words being the works when they seem to be two distinct accounts, or not accounts, but two distinct actions, rather than merging them into one. They turned the face of their father. So they convinced him to go, versus they told also, which is in reference to the words. So they told also the words to their father, telling him, again, the words which they had already recounted to him, which would be redundant. Verse 12, show him the way. His sons showed him the way by which the man of God who came out of Judah went up, versus for his sons had seen the way. So they're showing him the way, showing their father the way to go in order to pursue the man of God, versus they had seen it, but they're not giving him the information in this verse. Verse 19, he brought him back versus he went back. So the old prophet, we'll call him, persuaded the younger prophet versus he chose to go without persuasion. The young prophet just chose to go with the old prophet without being persuaded. Well, he was persuaded, it seems. Verse 21. He spoke to the man of God that came out of Judah. This is the older prophet speaking, versus he cried to the man of Elohim. So he's yelling or shouting. Two very different tones. So tonally, we see more respect that the man of God is showing, or I should say the old prophet is showing to the man of God. They're both men of God, but one is older and one is, I suppose, newer. But in the Masoretic, the older man of God is shouting in his face or crying. He's not speaking in a tone that is with respect and befitting an older man. Verse 23. He turned and departed, versus whom he had brought back. So we can see clearly that the older man prepared the donkey for the younger man of Elohim, and the younger man turned and departed, versus the older man of God saddled the donkey for the younger man whom he had brought back. So it's not describing what had happened, it's describing the young prophet using an adjective, you could say an extended adjective, using many words, whom he had brought back. So this is a descriptor rather than two actions that took place. So this is a narrative taking place in the timeline of the story, you could say, the sequence of events happening, versus recalling who this prophet was and what happened to him, instead of what is actually occurring in real time in this narrative. In my note here, in my notepad, it says, describing what had happened, again the narrative, versus describing the man who resisted the word, the younger man of God. Verse 26, rebelled against the word of Yah, or Adonai, or Hashem, versus disobedient. Who was disobedient. There's an addition of therefore Yah has delivered him unto the lion, which hath torn him and slain him, according to the word of Adonai, which he spake unto him. Verse 27, this verse was added, and he spake to his sons, saying, saddle me the donkey, and they saddled him. Verse 29, his city versus the city. So this is specifically the old prophet's city where he lives, where he lived. Here it is. Brought him back to his city versus the city. This could be perhaps the new prophet's city. It's not as specific in the Masoretic. There's an addition of to mourn him. So he came to the city to mourn him. They added that those words, an omission of in his own tomb. So that is a very special blessing. He's treating him with much respect. He's burying him not just anywhere, but in his own tomb, which the old prophet owns. It is his own property. And he has deemed him worthy to be able to be buried there. Verse 30, bewailed. They bewailed him. So they did in fact mourn him. So they bewailed him versus they mourned him. Okay, so that's just an extension. I should say it is there twice, mourn and mourned. Okay. 31, verse 31. This is our first significant difference and the only one in this chapter. It says here, and it came to pass after he had lamented him. So yes, he did truly bewail him. The old prophet bewailed the younger prophet. In fact, we now know he lamented for him. This was a deep sorrow. Verses, and it came to pass after he buried him. So yes, he mourned over him, but technically that does not automatically mean that he lamented over him, because even in the Masoretic it doesn't state that. It says that he merely buried him and mourned over him. However, it is clear, quite clear, that there was an emotional loss here, that he had to lament over this young prophet. He mourned, but it was not merely an outward action just for show. He truly lamented him deep in his heart. I'm inserting that emphasis there, but he lamented him. If he didn't, it wouldn't have said it. It would not have been written as such. There's an omission of that my bones. Let's just read the full verse just to get the proper context. He spoke to his sons, the old prophet, saying, "Whenever I die, bury me in this tomb, wherein the man of God is buried. Lay me by his bones, that my bones may be preserved with his bones." So the part that was omitted is that my bones. So the rationale of why he should be buried with me, I should say why I should be buried with him, is so that my bones may be preserved with his bones. We are not provided that rationale in the Masoretic. So we can see there is somewhat of an honor that this old prophet is bestowing onto this young prophet to commemorate his memory, to treat him with dignity and respect. And I would personally say he's going even above and beyond, perhaps. Or maybe that was just the standard of the day. Verse 33. There was a footnote in the hard copy. It says, in regards to thing, after this thing, versus after this word. So there's a footnote that it says, after this word, Jeroboam turned not from his sin, versus this thing. So it's a little more specific in the Alexandrian. And then it says sin, turn not from his sin versus evil way. So it is indeed a sin. It's not merely perhaps it's evil. No, it is a sin according to Adonai standards. And then part of the people's priests, I should say, he turned and made of part of the people priests of, in brackets, the high places, versus the lowest of the people. And we've seen this earlier in this book, this similar difference. Instead of saying part of the people, it's the lowest of the people. These are the lowest of the low. Not simply inclusive, but intentionally picking the scum of the earth, you could say. Verse 34, removal from the face of the earth versus cut off from the face of the earth. So completely removed, completely remove it in the Septuagint versus to cut off perhaps temporarily or perhaps permanently. It's a little open to discussion, open to interpretation. So that's all for this video. Thank you very much for your time. This is 1 Kings chapter 13, and we hope to do more uploads regularly, at least bare minimum on a daily basis. So thank you very much once again for your time. I bid you all Shalom Alechem, Assalamu Alaikum, Eirini Mazisu, Pax Vobiscum, peace be unto you, and Maranatha.